Alright, yet another intriguing, young, athletic, and not to mention freak athlete just hit the open market. That player being KJ Martin, son of former NBA player Kenny Martin. You know, last week we talked about Keon Johnson, waived by the Brooklyn Nets and the current record holder for the highest ever recorded vertical leap at the NBA Draft Combine, recording a 48-inch, and yes, a 48-inch vertical at the Draft Combine, again the highest ever recorded. And now joining him in the open market does happen to be KJ Martin, an absolutely elite athlete himself. Now maybe he doesn't have a 48-inch vertical, but he's still an elite athlete by any standard. Probably a top 5, if not bare minimum top 10 athlete in the NBA. I mean, when he gets going in the open court, he can put on an absolute show out there. And well, unlike Keon Johnson, who's kind of only had one good year in the NBA, KJ Martin has definitely shown many more flashes, has had multiple good years in the NBA, is coming off a rather poor one and probably his worst, if not one of his worst in the NBA. And despite only being 24 years old yet, he does have 5 years of NBA background, which is really both a pro and a con for him at this point too. The pro of it being that he again has NBA background to point to, has played for a few good teams, and has shown improvement in some areas, albeit some regression too, mainly in 3-point shooting. But the con being that he's no longer two-way contract eligible, despite being as young as a guy like Dalton Knecht, for example, nearly the same age. And not only that, but if he doesn't have a two-way contract, which again he's not eligible for, it might be hard for him to get back on an NBA team, especially through an actual 15-man roster spot. And well, there's simply not many of them left at this point. After being waived from the Utah Jazz in literally late September now, 1 week prior to training camp, I'm not sure any team will give him a 15-man roster spot, let alone a guaranteed contract. So if he's not getting that, isn't two-way contract eligible, the last resort for him will be a training camp deal, aka an Exhibit 10 contract. And well, if he does want to get back to his home state, was born in California and did play a majority of his high school ball in California at IMG Academy, if he maybe wants to get closer to family, and he does have to get a training camp deal or accept a training camp deal, I wouldn't be shocked if he'd take one with the Los Angeles Lakers. And yes, they currently do have a full training camp roster, having a full 21 of 21 eligible spots taken, but with an Exhibit 10 contract, you can simply waive it for no cap casualty. No, it wouldn't count against the first apron. Exhibit 10 contracts at the absolute most are only $50K to maybe $75K. So no, it wouldn't be a financial problem for them. They could waive somebody like RJ Davis, Augustas Marciulionis, Arthur Kluma, Eric Dixon. I mean, take your pick between them if they wanted to. I'd personally go the route of RJ Davis or Marciulionis, given that they have plenty of backcourt depth and they don't really have a shot to make the team in my opinion, not much of one anyway. If they would want to waive one of them and then extend a two-way an Exhibit 10 contract to KJ Martin, they could go that route. And in my opinion, that would be an absolute great move for them to make. No, they might not be eligible to sign him right now to a 15-man roster spot, but they can later on this season. And if you would take a training camp deal with them, possibly if he even can't get a deal after that point and play with their G League team, then he definitely can have a pathway to that final spot on their 15-man roster. Or maybe even before that, if they would make a trade and offload some cap space, or rather get further below the first apron and keep a roster spot open while doing it, then maybe you could have a viable pathway through that kind of route too. Again, it's not ideal for KJ Martin. Obviously, you'd like to have a 15-man roster spot and obviously would take one rather than a training camp deal. But again, at this point, he's not in a great place to be picky. Probably isn't going to get a 15-man roster spot. Even if he would, it would be a non-guaranteed contract, so he probably could get waived again prior to training camp or by the end of training camp. So if he does want to come back to his home state, a team that might want to make him a reclamation project, a team that's willing to take on reclamation projects, the Lakers have done so with plenty of guys in the past half-decade now, I wouldn't be shocked if they tried again with KJ Martin. Many of which have worked out for them, or at least have worked out for their team, maybe not for the team they joined thereafter, but they have been willing to do it and do have some pretty good success with it, so I wouldn't doubt if they would take on another one with KJ Martin, if he would be willing to work with them. As again, he would have to take an Exhibit 10 contract for right now, possibly even join their G League team if he can't get a deal elsewhere, and then maybe join their team at maybe December or actually January when they could sign him, barring a trade or barring some kind of cap relief that they would make. That would kind of be the route that he would take with their team over a different team. And well, if he would want to go that route and if the Lakers would extend a training camp offer to him, I think there's actually plenty of upside here left with KJ Martin. Again, he isn't coming off a particularly great season, playing roughly 21 minutes per game in 43 games between both Philadelphia and then with Utah after being traded, averaging 6.4 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 1.1 assists per game, shooting a very efficient 55.2% from the field, a second career best for himself, but then a not so efficient 25.9% from 3, actually a career low for himself. So definitely some ups and downs here with KJ Martin. I think defensively he actually looked pretty good, actually had some of the best defensive numbers of his career, definitely bought into it more and showed some more defensive commitment compared to his early career, but once again was not a great 3-point shooter. I'm not sure what happened with him, but his best 3-point shooting year is his rookie year, shooting 36.5% on 2.1 attempts per game, actually some solid volume and pretty good efficiency. Even during his second year shooting above 35%, shooting 35.7% on the same amount of 3-point shot attempts per game in roughly the same amount of playing time per game. But then after that point, he's never shot above 31% again. So kind of weird to think about, but is it kind of a team fit? Is it a confidence thing? What is it with KJ Martin? Can he get back to that 3-point shooting? Not to mention the offense and productivity in general. Or is he simply not worth the time at this point? In my opinion, given the fact that he's an elite athlete, has shown some more defensive commitment, has a ton of upside on defense yet in my opinion, has shown the ability at times to be a good 3-point shooter, even for multiple seasons, not just simply a one-off thing in maybe 10 to 20 games, I think there's definitely hope for KJ Martin left. I think it will simply take the right team and the right fit to bring it back out of him. Is that team the Lakers? I'm not entirely sure, but I'd like to think so. Maybe with a teammate like Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, great playmaking around him in general, likely getting him more open than ever before in his NBA career. You know, maybe teammates that believe in him again, a coach that could maybe relate to him a bit better. Redick is a very young coach and definitely does instill confidence in his young players for the most part. You know, maybe it might be the right fit, maybe it wouldn't be the right fit, but I definitely would take a chance on him if he would take that training camp contract and if he would work with them too. Again, that might not be his preferred route, likely would rather have a guaranteed contract or some kind of actual 15-man roster spot, but if he does have to take a training camp deal, the Lakers would be a good team to pick as they have a pretty good example to point to with it. Literally one from last season with Jordan Goodwin, a guy that kind of fell out of the NBA, had to take a training camp deal with them, eventually got promoted to a 2-way contract after spending time directly with their G League team, which again is something that KJ Martin might have to do, later being promoted, elevated to their 15-man roster after that point, and after playing very well with them, not to mention with their team that did have Luka Doncic, LeBron, and Austin, still do by the way. And if he could do it, then maybe KJ Martin could do it. Goodwin had never shot above 33% from 3 prior to that point, immediately jumped up to 38% with their team, played very well on defense, and was a very good fit for them. A hustle, energy, defensive-minded player. That definitely could be something they would want more of. If KJ Martin can fill that kind of role for them, if he can be some semblance of a 3-and-D wing for their team, you know, that's something they're currently looking for and reports say they do want that, I think it would make sense for both of them. The Lakers getting the skill set or potential skill set that they want and that they've been looking for, KJ Martin having 3-and-D upside and having shown it on both ends of the court, with the 3-point shooting at times, with the defense at times, now it's about putting it all together. Not to mention some great athletic ability, another thing that reports say that they want and that they've been looking for. I think it would be a good fit, I think it would be worthwhile for both parties here. The Lakers having shown the ability to get players back on track and actually have some good reclamation projects to point to. Martin probably not having a much better option at this point, at least I doubt it. So it might be the best fit for both of them. I mean, I know it might sound weird to say that he likely will have to take an Exhibit 10 contract, but it happens every year in the NBA. Guys that are more productive than KJ Martin have shown more at the NBA level than him, and yet they either fall out of the NBA or have to play without a contract for half the year and wait for a contract. Guys like Lonnie Walker, for example, not getting a contract last season despite coming off a pretty good year in the NBA, not having a contract again this season, likely having to play overseas again and maybe even fall entirely out of the NBA. There's simply too much talent, and if you don't have a good year and haven't shown consistent ability on the court, then you likely have to resort to taking an Exhibit 10 contract and have to prove it through training camp before getting back to a guaranteed contract. So no, I really don't think it's that unrealistic. Definitely unfortunate for KJ Martin, as he'll have to work his way back to that point and back to a guaranteed contract, but potentially a good thing for the Lakers, even potentially a good thing for KJ Martin, as he can now pick his next pathway, Again, unfortunately through an Exhibit 10 contract, at least in my opinion. Maybe through a non-guaranteed contract, but likely through a training camp deal in my opinion. And if you would pick the Lakers, I would definitely love it. I mean, the upside that he has left, the fit that he could potentially be for their team, adding more wing depth to their team, adding more athletic ability, not to mention elite athletic ability, and a guy that could be a good fit for their overall rotation if he would eventually make it, I would definitely be all for it. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about KJ Martin hitting the open market? And if he does in fact clear waivers, do you think the Lakers should try and sign him? Do you think he would be their pick and that it could be a good fit between them? Or would you maybe stay away from him for some reason? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.